You're listening to the Office Husband Podcast. New episodes every week. Welcome, coworkers, to episode 1 of the Office Husband Podcast. My name is D'Angelo Wallace, your office husband, here to have the conversations that you don't have with your actual husband or wife or appropriately titled confidant. Now, today's episode is about political compass tests. Yikes. Now, basically what we're going to be doing today is figuring out where my political views fall on the political spectrum, because apparently there's a spectrum, and we're also going to be seeing which opinions we agree on versus which ones we disagree on. You know, I've always run a platform where, like, you're free to disagree respectfully. I mean, or you could disagree disrespectfully. It's equally entertaining. But no, I encourage disagreement, honestly, because I feel like that's how people learn. So let's see what I believe that some of you might be in 100% agreement with versus what ideas I have that some of you might think are insane. And I would love to hear why. And then I think the last thing I want to do with this episode of the podcast is just kind of detail my thoughts on politics in general, because boy, howdy, do I have quite a few of those. Now, just a little introduction. I would like to address the elephant in the room. This is actually the very first episode of this podcast. This is episode 1. So it's very exciting. It's a new chapter in my life, and I hope you support me during this journey. No, really, I'm doing this for money. Like, my primary goal with doing this is to make more money, to kind of open up another revenue stream, not just for me, not just for my personal gain, but definitely partially for my personal gain. Yes, hello. But I want to put money back into the production as well. One thing I think about a lot is how far I've come from, like, where I started on YouTube. If you've been with me that whole time, you would know things were a little bumpy. You know, I used to record videos without a microphone at all. I used to not even have a camera, and I was still creating YouTube content, versus now we actually have not one but 2 cameras for this podcast, which you can see if you're watching this on YouTube. But yeah, for the people on Spotify, take my word for it. We have 2 wonderful camera angles, which both look pretty fantastic. And I could not do that without, you know, the money I've been making from my YouTube content. So yeah, that's the main goal, is to kind of get some more cash flow. Another goal, though, I have is I want to find new listeners, new viewers. The reason I'm saying this is because my YouTube videos have simply been getting too long. I think we can all agree, like, the 40-minute videos, I know people don't hate them, but they're a lot. And I think the timestamps are scaring people off. Like, my last video I uploaded was about Lana Del Rey, and that joint was 41 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just surprised anybody clicked in at all. So the reason my videos were getting so long is because I've been increasingly interested in covering topics that are hard to fit into 10-minute YouTube videos. But then I just had the genius idea. This is literally what podcasts are for. And yeah, that is the last reason I'm doing this podcast, is I really want to hammer down on issues like this, you know, like politics, like etc., that I can't really cover on my YouTube channel without fear of demonetization. Like, if I want to talk about Black Lives Matter, that's a terrible idea. I mean, obviously, yes, it's a good thing, and I respect everyone who's doing it. But just from a standpoint of how my content is shown to people, I run a risk of getting my content hidden by YouTube, because they hate when you even acknowledge that certain things exist. So in an effort to still feel free to talk about the things I want to talk about, I have decided to shift kind of the more serious stuff to this podcast, while we keep the, you know, more lighthearted or simpler stuff on my YouTube channel. Let me take a little water break. Not sponsored by Hydro Flask, by the way, but it should be sponsored by Hydro Flask. Hydro Flask, if you're watching this, I could be a great brand rep, because literally all I do is drink water and look good while doing it. What more do you need from somebody who's advertising a water bottle? And all right, so let me take a brief look at my notes. Oh yeah, okay. Basically, I wrote down that I wanted to start the podcast with something wholesome, but clearly that was a lie. Instead, I've decided to start this podcast with pure political truth, because if I'm gonna get canceled over my political views, I honestly feel like now is the best time. You know what I mean? Like, why wait until I'm years into my career and then people find out that I hold specific views when you can just find out today? That's galaxy brain thinking. I'm a very savvy individual, as you can tell. So yeah, those are my main goals for the podcast. These are my goals for episode 1 of this podcast. So this test that we're going to be taking today is at www.politicalcompass.org/test. And honestly, you guys might want to take it with me if that's something that you're interested in. Go pull it up right now, because the tests, I'm pretty positive they're in the same order for each person. So you can honestly take that along with me. But yeah, I'm going to be taking that test. But before we get into it, I just want to give like a brief rundown of my views on politics. So basically, I don't consider myself a part of any political party or, group of politically interested people. I don't call myself a Democrat or a Republican. I don't call myself a conservative or a liberal. And, I tweeted about this the other day, which, by the way, you can find my tweets on Twitter at DangelKnow, of course. It's not because I feel like I'm in the middle or like I'm a centrist. That's not the reason that I don't ascribe myself to those parties. It's more so because those parties are scary. Okay, there's a versus, right? If you say Democrat, then it's automatically versus Republican. If you say conservative, it's kind of versus liberals. And I find that a lot of content involving politics tends to focus way more on the verses than the actual problems at hand. Like, it's like, ooh, Democrat destroys Republican with knowledge, or, conservative owns liberal during debate. And it's like, I definitely enjoy creating that content, but I don't have the stomach for confrontation. I cannot. So instead of like the shouting match that, party tribalism often turns into, I'm just more so interested in evaluating things on a case by case basis, kind of independently of attaching myself to a party. You guys know what I mean? And another thing about that is no party really represents my views to a T anyway. Just because I might have a lot of views that line up with one party doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything in it. It actually brings me to this Neil deGrasse Tyson quote I wrote down, which, by the way, how amazing am I that I'm literally sharing Neil deGrasse Tyson quotes on my podcast. You guys thought you were coming here to enjoy yourselves, but you're coming here to witness our big brain moment. I'm just kidding. This joke doesn't work because this quote is not even about astrophysics or whatever the heck he studies. Basically, Tyson said, "The moment when someone attaches you to a philosophy or a movement, then they assign all the baggage and all the rest of the philosophy that goes with it to you. And when you want to have a conversation, they will assert that they already know everything important there is to know about you because of that association. And that is not the way to have a conversation." Sorry, it's a water break. Anyway, that quote right there has 100% lined up with my experience discussing politics. Like, I used to say I was one of the parties, and then I would just get shamed for allegedly believing these things that I didn't even believe. I used to call myself a centrist, and then I would get shamed for not believing things that I literally did believe. So that's when I realized I don't need these labels to stand up for what I believe in, okay? I can still be anti-racist. I can still stand up or do my best to stand up for, LGBT rights and all this stuff without needing like a party or, some sort of political tie to do any of this stuff. So yeah, once I rejected the political labels personally, I found it so much easier to enjoy politics. You know what I mean? So even though I will be taking this test in this video, it's not so I can like place myself in a party. It's just more so for fun and to see what those opinions are. But all this being said, I will also say this. I don't consider my way of consuming political content to be better or more correct. Like, if you are a Democrat or Republican or, conservative or liberal, etc., I'm not going to assume that you believe every single thing that, every single belief that's typically ascribed to people within your party. I just want to talk to you on a personal level and figure out, okay, so you're calling yourself this. That gives me like a general idea of how you lean, but I want to know, like, what are your specific opinions on issue A? What are your specific opinions on issue B? You know what I mean? So yeah, basically that's why even if I take this and it tells me I'm one thing, I'm still not, trust me. I have my own way of doing it. But for now, I want you to do what I do for everyone else, which is let's listen to this point by point. Let's go through this political compass test. But before we do that, of course, let us come together in prayer as we worship today's sponsor. Nobody. Oops, this episode's not sponsored. That's okay. But I do look forward. I'm really excited to get some sponsors soon enough because one of my big plans with this podcast is to keep it free forever, basically. Of course, I can't promise that. You know, if Spotify offers me a $100 million deal, which how could they not? I'm literally fantastic right now. I'm not going to say no, but for now where I am, I want to keep this free, keep uploading it to free platforms like YouTube, SoundCloud, etc. So, yeah, sponsors would be much appreciated. Hydro Flask, hit me up. What did I say? I've used your water bottle twice so far. At this point, every time I replenish myself, I am advertising Hydro Flask. Anyway, that's way besides the point. Let's go ahead and get started on the test. Water break. All right, so this test says, before taking the test, it's in bold, so this is serious. It says, please note that this isn't a survey and these aren't questions. They're propositions. To question the logic of individual ones that irritate you is to miss the point. Okay, well, I'm CEO of not missing the point, so I think I should be fine. Some propositions are extreme and some are moderate. That's how we can show you whether you lean towards extremism or moderation on the compass. Your responses should not be overthought. Some of them are intentionally vague. Their purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measuring feelings and prejudices rather than detailed opinions on policy. All right, I'm a little scared because who actually wants their prejudices measured? I don't think anybody wants to believe that they're prejudiced, but it's kind of impossible to escape. So let's find out. So this is split up into 6 parts. Page 1 of 6 says, just a few propositions to start with concerning, no less, how you see the country and the world. Okay, that's exciting. So, proposition 1, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should... Oh, wait, hold on. Before we get into this, I keep forgetting that I'm also on Spotify and Apple Music and wherever else podcasts are available without video. So you guys can't actually see what I'm doing right now. So just to explain this, for every proposition, there are 5 options ranging from strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree. Wait, that's 4 Oh my gosh. I promise you guys I can count. I like how one moment I'm explaining how I'm the smartest podcaster on earth for knowing a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote, and then the next I can't count to 5. That's what you're signing up for. That's what you're going to get on the Office Husband podcast, okay? There's 4 options: strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So basically, it's just going to measure, I guess, where I stand on each proposition. Water break. All right, so if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. I personally strongly agree with this. I mean, you can honestly look at corporations at this point and see how they just get away with literally anything. I don't think we need to be catering our interests towards making sure these corporations are happy. This actually brings to mind, I don't know if you guys heard, but Fair and Lovely, okay? It's this Unilever brand, I believe. And basically, among other products, they sell skin lightening cream. Now, of course, they call it something else, right? They say it's like HD Glow or something like that. Basically, there's this YouTube content creator named Auntie Twinkle, and she just wonderful video where she tries out these horrible products. But basically, Unilever came out and explains that, guys, we're not going to stop making these skin whitening products, but we are going to change the name from Fair and Lovely because we realize that's bad. And it's like, holy crap. So you acknowledge that this idea that you need to be whiter and lighter in order to be beautiful is bad, so much that you're changing your product's name, but you're still selling it. So to me personally, that's like all the proof you need that if you let corporations do the corporation thing, they're just going to make themselves seem as charitable as profitable. Freudian slip. They're going to make themselves seem as charitable as possible while still behind closed doors being as profitable as possible. So that's my opinion on corporations. They suck, but sadly they're a necessity. Anyway, next proposition. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. Nope. This whole America first, respect the flag and all this stuff. No thanks, Chief. I feel like that's the root of a lot of our problems is basically we are so, I guess, shocked or thrown off by things that seem to go contrary to our great American ideals that we wind up protesting the wrong issues. Water break. And like a lot of this Black Lives Matter stuff right now is being interpreted as anti-American. It's like that quote you see, something along the lines of when you protest racism, people think you're protesting America. Basically, I think, for me personally, country loyalty gets so far in the way of actual progress. I personally don't want to incorporate it into the way I, educate myself about things, but that's just me. This next one says, no one chooses his or her country or of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I personally disagree. I don't strongly disagree, but I do disagree. It's okay to have national pride, and it's okay, I guess, to be proud of your culture. I'm certainly proud of a lot of aspects of my own culture. And no, of course, I didn't make myself, a Black person or an American person or whatever. But I am proud. I do enjoy that I live here. But at the same time, don't be extreme. You know what I mean? Don't think that your culture is better than others. That is goofy because, no, you didn't give yourself that country. So why would you think that's better than other people? Anyway, our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. That's going to be a strongly disagree for me. Holy crap. That's just literal racism. I certainly hope nobody agrees that their race has superior qualities compared to other races. Oof. All right. This next one says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I personally strongly disagree with that because I feel like, again, we're kind of getting into like tribalism, which gets in the way of so many great conversations. Like, I'm trying to think, what's a relevant example of that? Ooh, I just thought of a great example. TERFs, basically, trans exclusionary radical feminists. They basically are championing, is that how you say it? They're basically champions of women's rights, but they're doing it at the expense of transgender people, which is, I think that's like the perfect example of the enemy of your enemy isn't necessarily your friend. You know what I mean? So they're anti-misogynists, which is great, but they're still transphobic at the same time. So yeah, that's going to be a strong disagree from me. Let's see. This next one says, military action that defies international laws is sometimes justified. I personally don't have much of an opinion of this. I'm going to put agree solely because what if the international law is wrong or like harming other people and the military chooses to ignore that to help people? That's why I'm going to put agree. Then again, that could also backfire on me because what if the international law is protecting people and the military chooses to ignore that and they wind up harming people? So yikes. I'm just going to put agree, but just know in my heart, it's more of a gray area. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Agree. Huge agree. Now, the reason I'm putting this isn't because I'm some boomer who thinks like, oh, YouTube is bad. I mean, that's my actual career, is mixing information and entertainment. That's honestly what I'm trying to do right now in this very moment. But the reason I say it's worrying is because it's kind of allowed anybody to be the bringer of information. And I just see it too often. A lot of people don't seem interested in the veracity of said information as long as it's entertaining. A lot of people don't seem to care about spreading lies as long as people are talking about it, right? So like if you want to support a position and somebody recognizes that they can get entertainment and engagement out of marketing themselves to people who support that position, some people start lying and they start making things up that support that position. You know what I mean? I see it far too often, just from everybody. I really try not to be that way. So I definitely agree. However, I don't strongly agree, because I feel like if you strongly agree, you're crossing over into elitism. Like, ooh, information has to be strictly professional. And it's like, no, if somebody on Twitter is giving me information and it's accurate, then honestly, who am I to really say it should or should not be, shared on Twitter? It's not less important because of who it's coming from. Now, I just realized my laptop is going to die very soon, and that would be catastrophic because I wouldn't be able to continue recording audio. So that's not good. We're just going to play some hold music, I guess, while I go get my laptop charger. Yikes. Give me 1 second. These are the joys of independent podcasting. If something goes wrong, it's your fault. Let's see. This goes over here. Snaps into there. All right. You sit back in my chair. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, guys, we're good. Trust me, I'd much rather a weird interruption than my microphone cutting off in the middle of me recording an hour-long podcast. That would be catastrophic. All right. So where was I? What was I even saying? Oh, yeah. We had just entered the fusion of entertainment / information question, which I said I agree. It's a bit worrying. All right, guys. So that was page 1 out of 6. And this page, again, was about how we see the country and the world. So we're moving on to the next page. And this one is about, the economy. Yikes. It says, now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. Well, that's good for me because I do not know what the FTSE index is. Oh, the stock market, I think. No? The stock exchange. Yeah, okay, maybe it's good that we're not talking about that because I don't know what it is. So, Proposition 1 says, people are ultimately more divided by class than by nationality. I strongly agree with that. I think within one nationality, you might find a ton of division among members of that nationality purely based off of where they are socioeconomically. You know what I mean? This next one says, controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment? Water break. I personally don't know how to answer this question because I'm not informed enough on the economy to know really how inflation correlates with unemployment. I personally would say I agree. Not strongly agree, because I don't know enough to strongly agree. It sounds about right, though, because controlling inflation could prevent crashes, right? So, yeah, I'm going to say I agree, but economists, feel free to correct me on that one. This one says, because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Strongly agree. I mean, corporations, in a way, you almost can't blame them because they're profit driven, right? It makes sense to pursue profits. That way you can continue operating and expanding. But clearly, corporations are doing this at the expense of the environment. You know, if we didn't stop them, who's to stop these people from just spewing toxic waste into the air in the efforts to make things more cheaply? You know, who's to stop them from demolishing entire forests in the efforts to get more paper or whatever the heck reason they're, tearing down forests for. So yeah, I think a bit of regulation never hurt anybody. You know what I mean? From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. I strongly disagree with that, just personally, because I think these are too arbitrary terms to make such an absolute. For example, if you're saying everyone who has a certain amount of ability, their ability should be the measure of how much they have to give, what are we calling ability? I would find it easier to agree with this, I guess, if we were more specific, but also to say to each according to his need is super nebulous as well, because it's like, well, how do you know how much somebody needs, right? Like if somebody has 6 kids, do they need this amount versus 4 kids? I personally disagree with that one because I feel like it can be used to justify some super shady and questionable stuff. This one says the freer the market, the freer the people. I guess I'll just say agree. Yeah, it sounds about right. Again, I really don't know much about economics. Excuse me. I don't know much about, economics and free markets and all that, but we're going to say I agree for now. This one says, it's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Speaking of drinking water break, I, for one, am happy to drink water out of my bottled, branded Hydro Flask in this large, sleek, black water bottle. So, Hydro Flask, if you're watching this, please sponsor me. That being said, yeah, I guess I somewhat agree. The fact that people are selling water kind of is a reflection on humanity as a whole. I won't say I strongly disagree that it's sad because, people still need money. If you have resources, it does make sense to sell them to other people for profit. But yeah, it's a little bit sad because, not even water is safe from capitalism. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree with this. I don't strongly disagree, but I do disagree because, again, it's like, who is going to regulate who lives where if we don't have some sort of ownership system in place? You know what I mean? Again, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not a landowner. I'm in an apartment right now that I do not own, but I guess I would want to be able to purchase land if that was something I was interested in. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, though. This next one says, it is regrettable that so many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. You're listening to the Office Husband podcast featuring D'Angelo Wallace. Basically, that's all I do in life, so I cannot... I would be so hypocritical for me to disagree with that, or for me to agree. I'm just going to put, I disagree. I have a right to contribute nothing to society and still be kind of good at my job and make money from it, okay? That's just my opinion. And maybe you could say I do contribute to society. Another reason I disagree, I'm going to put I strongly disagree, is, again, we're getting into nebulous terms because who are you to say someone does or does not contribute to society? You know what I mean? Maybe I am contributing to making someone's day happier or contributing to the space of ideas or however you want to word it. If you ask my college professors, they would probably say, no, I still failed. I got the degree and now I'm podcasting and doing YouTube. Whatever. Society be darned. I don't have to contribute if I don't want to. That's a joke, by the way. This next one says, protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. So I didn't know what protectionism meant at all, but I Googled it the other day. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was... Actually, I don't remember. Let me just Google it again. Protectionism is the economic policy of restricting imports from other countries through methods such as tariffs on imported goods, import quotas, and a variety of government regulations. Okay, that's right. That's right. That's what it is. I'm honestly going to say I agree with that. Again, I don't know the specifics of how protectionism helps, but certainly it is good to regulate these things so you kind of get a gist of how it's helping the country or not helping. This next one says, the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I strongly disagree with this. I think companies do have social responsibility, and the reason for this is they affect society. You know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about individual people. If we're talking about Amazon, for example, and they have all these factories and they're taking up all this space, and they're using up all these resources, etc. Yeah, I think they absolutely do have a social responsibility other than just making money. You know what I mean? This one says the rich are too highly taxed. I strongly disagree with that. I think at the point where you're super rich, high taxes are not making your life harder. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion. The tax bracket I'm in, it's not like super high, but I do pay a really decent amount in taxes just based off of, the revenue that comes in through YouTube. And I don't feel that it's too much because it's not making my life harder. It's not making it more difficult. It's not an economic challenge. You know what I mean? Versus not making enough money to be taxed the way I am was absolutely an economic challenge. So I strongly disagree. I think the rich are going to be okay. They're going to be fine. They're going to live. If you're paying millions of dollars in taxes, you probably have millions in the bank account. This one says those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I strongly disagree with that. I probably will always strongly disagree with that because I've seen medical issues tear families apart, just run families into the ground because they didn't have access to higher standards of medical care. And that's heartbreaking. So no, strongly disagree. That's just going to be a no from me. In fact, what are the rich paying all those darn taxes for if we can't contribute it to a medical system that can help people who are literally dying? You know what I mean? But that's my opinion. This next one says governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Strongly agree with that one. Water break. The reason I agree with this is because, think about it. People used to think that smoking cigarettes was good and cool and fun. And then it's like, surprise, surprise. Now all these people have lung cancer, throat cancer. Like, it's not funny. I'm just laughing because that's what happens when you're not penalized for misleading the public. Again, corporations and businesses have an interest in profit. So if you can pretend that cigarettes are cool, good, and healthy, then more people are going to buy them. And now you're literally killing more people. So yes, absolutely. I think the government should penalize you for false advertising. And that being said, honestly, just look at how Juul is marketed. Not by Juul, mind you, but just in the social consciousness, Juul is considered to be cool and mango flavored and I want a mint pod. And it's like still not healthy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a gray area, but I still strongly agree. Yeah, there should be penalties in place. All right, so this last one of part 2 says, a genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Water break. I don't really understand what this is asking. First of all, I don't know what a predator multinational is. It does seem like a bit of a paradox to me because it's saying a genuinely free market requires restrictions. But I will say agree. Just because monopolies can put other companies out of business, therefore making it not a free market, I guess. Again, y'all, I'll be the first to admit my knowledge of economics is lacking. I took a test so that I wouldn't have to take an economics course in college. That's how little I know about that. But that was the last question on page 2. So how are we feeling so far? Let's check in with ourselves before we move on to the next part. Personally, I'm fine with this so far. I don't feel like any of these questions have been particularly, controversial. Like if you disagree with me on any of this stuff so far, I don't think that makes us very different people. The reason I'm saying that is because this next stuff is extremely divisive. So we are on page 3 of 6 and it says, now a look at some of your personal social values. And number 1 is abortion. Okay. Oh boy. Oh yikes. So it says, abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I'm just going to put that I strongly disagree with that. Yeah, I definitely strongly disagree with that. I'm kind of glad it's worded like that because I can definitely disagree that it should always be illegal. I'm not saying whether it's wrong or right, but yeah, that's a no for me. This next one says all authority should be questioned. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that one. I don't strongly agree because some authority is good. You shouldn't just go around challenging everything above you, but you should go around with the ability to challenge anything above you. So This next one says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Strongly disagree with that because, again, sure, if you rip someone's eye out and the penalty is ripping your eye out, and it was literally that cut and dry and specific, maybe I could get behind that. I'm kidding, by the way. But I really feel like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is used to justify exchanges that are often not at all comparable. Let's see. This next one says taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Water break. I personally strongly disagree with this. I don't think there's anything wrong with taxes going to national museums and stuff like that. And this is the reason I'm saying this. So Spotify listeners and others won't be able to tell, but I'm actually wearing these socks right now. Let me see if I can see. Like, can you guys see my socks? These right here? Okay, this is not comfortable at all. But basically, I got these socks from a museum. I want to say it was in Missouri. It was a jazz museum. These socks are everything, okay? I'm giving you what your 7th grade music teacher could never. So what if that museum had shut down because not enough people were buying amazing socks? I would feel terrible. So yeah, no, I strongly disagree. If it takes taxes to keep cool museums where you can buy horribly ugly socks and learn about jazz at the same time open, then that's where the taxes are going to go. That being said, I am slightly being no, I'm not kidding. I'm not going to pretend like that's a joke. I'm very proud of wearing these socks right now. And I'm very proud of the fact that you now know that despite how well dressed I am, those are the socks that I've chosen to wear. So have fun. Actually, I have a lot of pairs of extremely questionable socks, and I think I'm going to highlight them in each episode of this podcast, just because if not to make others uncomfortable, then truly, what was the point of having an extensive collection of questionable socks? So the next question says, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with that one. I think there's nothing wrong with going to school. Now, granted, me disagreeing with that is not me saying the school system is perfect and, you know, every kid should be going to school as it exists right now. But I do think the idea of, you know, schooling kids is a good idea. This one says, all people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. I really hope your gut reaction to that was disagreement, like strong aversion to that idea, because what in the world? Okay, first of all, their own kind of what? Is still a person. You know what I mean? This is literally the basis of segregation. Like back when it was okay to separate black people and white people, or back when they had like whites only establishments, that was literally the idea. Like, oh yeah, you know, you can have rights, but you should just stick with the rest of the people like you. So no, I'm never going to agree with that. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly disagree. I think you can be a good parent and not spank your children, you know? A good parent doesn't... Not all good parents, I think, sometimes have to spank their children, I guess, is my disagreement. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. I strongly agree with that, solely because I've been the child keeping secrets from my parents. I think everybody knows when you're a kid, you're not going to share everything with mom and dad. And maybe there should be an expectation that kids aren't going to tell you everything. You know, some of this stuff you're going to have to find out the hard way. Yeah, that's my opinion. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I strongly agree with that. Strongly agree. Marijuana is not hurting anybody. If anything, you can look and see how it helps a lot of people. And I don't use it. Like, I don't, use weed or whatever. But that being said, I can still literally look at people and see it's not affecting them in a way to where it should be criminalized and that should be offenses for putting them in jail. That's crazy. It's literally weed. Holy crap. Anyway, it's literally weed. D'Angelo Wallace 2020. I'm really giving you the intellectual scoop on this podcast. See, this is what you signed up for. This next one says, the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I strongly disagree with this. I think the primary function of schooling should be to teach people how to learn. And the reason I'm saying this is because this idea that school helps you find a job is crazy. The only thing having a college degree has done for me is stop me from not being able to get a job. It hasn't actually given me any more ability to have a job than any other person who has the same degree or even just a bachelor's degree at all. You know what I'm saying? Where, for example, I do YouTube right now, and obviously now I'm doing this podcasting stuff. My degree is actually in digital film and television production, mass communication with a concentration in digital film and television production. So while it could be argued that my degree is helping me in this job, I absolutely did not need that freaking piece of paper to do what I'm doing right now. Like, I did not need it. Did it help? Yes. Was it a requirement? No. Did they tell me the whole time that they were helping me get a job? Yes. And that's simply not how life worked. And now, had they taught me things like, hey, this is how you edit. Hey, these are some great ideas to be more productive. Hey, this is how you pay your taxes. I'm not even kidding. If they were teaching stuff like that in college, I think that's more important than how to get a job per se. Because let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, you can just get a job by knowing somebody in the right field. But that's just my opinion. Water break. This one says, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Is this not literally eugenics? What's the definition of eugenics? Hold on 1 second. Let me get a definition on that. Eugenics, the study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. It says it fell into disfavor after the perversion of its doctrines by the Nazis. Yeah, that's what I thought. Basically, this is asking me if I support eugenics. So that's going to be a strong disagree from me. Oh my gosh, this idea that somebody shouldn't be allowed to reproduce is freaking scary. Anyway, the most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Strongly disagree. Nope. Should children learn how to accept discipline? Yes. Is that the most important thing a child needs to have in their mind? That I have to accept everybody who's above me? Absolutely not. Honestly, sadly, that's how kids wind up in situations where they can't speak out because they've been taught that they have no right to, and they have to accept the situation that they're in. So, no. This one says, there are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. I agree. I strongly agree. And I know some people might be thinking, really? Because some people, are cannibals, and that's part of their culture. Which, first of all, which people are you referring to? And secondly, okay, killing people, unfortunately, has been a part of literally everyone's culture at some point in time. So don't want to hear it. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I agree. I don't strongly agree, but I do agree. I don't think you should think that you can get by in this life without, working for money. Personally, that's my opinion. And I've come across people who think this, and it really makes me question, how much do you want? What do you want exactly? What do you think you should get if you're not trying to use money to get it? You know what I mean? Now I will say this. It's still tricky because those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity is a bit nebulous. What if somebody's able to work but the jobs that are available to them are things that they're not comfortable doing, and so they refuse to do that? But then again, now that's more of a moral issue, so I'm just going to put I agree and move on. This one says, when you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. No. Strongly disagree. And I say that as somebody who tends to push his problems down very far and replace it with temporary joys in life. That still ain't healthy. That's not helping. You know what I mean? If you ignore something, it doesn't go away. That's probably the biggest lesson I've learned as a baby 21-year-old adult. This one says, first generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Strongly disagree. Ew. First of all, why do you need them to fully integrate anyway? Like, does it make you more comfortable if people don't have an accent? Like, does it make you more comfortable if people don't dress differently from you? That's weird to me personally. Ew. You don't need to integrate into your new country. Now, I mean, obviously I'm not talking about following the freaking law, okay? Let's be honest here. But yeah, you don't have to be indistinguishable from everybody from the rest of your new country. This one says what's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Literally, who would agree with this? I know it said at the beginning of the test not to question the answers, or not to question the propositions. Show me somebody who thinks that corporations are always right. That is some Orwellian stuff right there. Anyway, this next one, this is the last one on part 3, says no broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly disagree. It's PBS. That's my whole argument. Imagine if PBS didn't exist because public funding wasn't available. That would suck, and my entire childhood would have been pointless. Anyway, test 4 of 6, or page 4 of 6. This one asks me, how do I see the wider society? Okay. So this one says, our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I disagree. I think our civil liberties are being curbed in the name of counterterrorism, but I don't think it's excessive, okay? I don't think I go around through my day-to-day life thinking, wow, the government do be watching me, though. I think, if anything, Google is the one who's excessively curbing our right to privacy, but that's just my opinion. And honestly, it's not my right to privacy, is it? Because I did agree to the end user license agreement and the terms and conditions, so that's on me. This one says, a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. Strongly disagree. You think just because there's only one party that nobody's gonna argue and delay progress? Yeah, okay. Great. This one says, although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I strongly disagree with that. I think it's perfectly fair to feel uncomfortable and upset that you are constantly being watched and that the government could just decide that you're a person of interest and then start violating your privacy. Even if you're not a criminal, I think that's still a very unappealing idea, or at least that's my unappealing idea as somebody who tries really hard not to be a criminal. Publicly, anyway. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I don't have an opinion on this. I don't have a concrete opinion on this. I am far too young and unimportant for my opinion on the death penalty to affect anything. But since they're asking, I don't know. I'm just going to put agree. And the reason I'm putting agree is think of the Golden State Killer. Have you guys heard of the Golden State Killer? Hold on. Let me pull him up because we need some stats on this. Golden State Killer. So according to Google, this man murdered over 13 people and he raped over 50 of them. Oh my, wait, this guy's name is D'Angelo. This guy's name is Joseph James D'Angelo. That's scary. Also, well, it's scary because, of course, my name is D'Angelo Wallace, but yikes. Anyway, I felt better before I realized that. Also, pardon if you guys hear construction outside. I can't control that. I can control time, space, and the weather, but not construction, sadly. Yeah, no, that's scary. I felt better before I realized we shared the same name. Granted, that's his last name and it's my first name and it's spelled differently. But yeah, fun fact about me. Promise I wasn't named after the Golden State Killer. Anyway, all this to say, him receiving the death penalty is probably for the best, right? Because people who rape and murder other people, we probably shouldn't let them run around. I don't know. Again, I honestly don't know. Just be glad I'm not in charge because I would be too indecisive. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I agree. I mean, that's just kind of how things work. I don't agree with the way it's structured right now, but I do agree it's kind of like necessary for people to get along. This one says abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly disagree. Just because too many times I see people say things aren't art, and it's like, what are you talking about? People say video games aren't art, and I'm just like, gotta move on. This next one says, in criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. What, do you just want people to feel bad? Maybe we could get more out of society if instead of throwing people in boxes because we don't like their behavior, we could help them break out of that behavior. But that's just my opinion. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Strongly disagree. It's not up to any human being to decide, oh, you're beyond help. This one says the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Fail. Strongly disagree. I mean, what good is that manufacturer going to do without an engineer who by default has to be somewhat of an artist? Like, what good is a business person without a writer who's writing some of these business principles? So that's a no from me. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Ew. Strongly disagree. And my reasoning for disagreeing with that is like, what if I, D'Angelo Wallace, was this exact same person that I am right now, but I was also a woman? And somebody told me, okay, well, because of that, if you ever have kids, you have to stay home and take care of it. Boy, I would be pissed. That's a no from me, dog. This one says multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I don't know what that means, but I do agree with that. Anyway, making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I agree. I don't think making peace means accepting it, but I do think part of being mature is you need to accept that it is the way it is right now. I don't think you need to accept it forever is what I'm saying. You can still work to change it. But yeah, you should recognize, sadly, this is the world we live in. What do futures say? It's an evil world we live in. All right. We only have 2 parts left, and that's good because we only have like 8 minutes left in the podcast. Whoopsie. So page 5 says, if you got through that okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. Uh-oh. All right. I am going to kind of not go into too much detail about these religious ones because I actually want to make an entire podcast episode solely about religion and my opinions on that, because why not make people upset in my attempt to casually explain myself. Anyway, this first one says, astrology accurately explains many things. That's going to be a disagree. I don't think it does personally, but that's my opinion. This says you cannot be moral without being religious. That's false. Strongly disagree. You can have morals without being a Christian or a Buddhist or whatever religion you're part of. That's weird that you would think that somebody is incapable of having morals just because they're not part of a religion. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I strongly disagree with that. I don't think that's true. I think Social Security is great. I think charity kind of throws money at the problems, whereas we could kind of work to erode the problems. But hey, whatever. Some people are naturally unlucky. I strongly disagree with that. And this last one says, it is important that my child's school instills religious values. I strongly disagree with that. I think religion should be a choice. I don't need my kid to be taught that there's one true religion by a school, especially not by a school, not even by me, but hey, that's just me. All right, and so this last one says, finally, a look at sex. Oh boy. So this first one says, sex outside marriage is usually immoral. I'm just going to put I strongly disagree. If you're not married with somebody and you still want to, do the do, that literally does not make you a bad person. This one says, a same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Okay, strongly agree. I mean, yeah, why would we exclude them? If you have 2 parents and they're good people, that's basically all you need to raise a kid. Proof, some people do it with just one parent. Anyway, this one says, adult content, I'm using a euphemism here, depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. I'm going to say I agree with that because, I mean, yeah, it says it's, well, I strongly agree with that. Yeah, it should be legal. I mean, it's consensual, so it's not hurting anyone. What's the point? Now, granted, a lot of that adult content does wind up hurting people because it's not consensual and it instills horrible values and unrealistic expectations. But that's not what the question said. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I strongly agree with that one. Yeah. Ew. What does the state need to know about? Never mind. I was about to go into detail. Yeah, no, the state is going to be okay. This one says, no one can feel naturally homosexual. Have you Who thinks this? Okay, strongly disagree. That's not unnatural, in my opinion. No, wait, that's not opinion, actually. This occurs naturally, in nature, literally. So that's just false. I strongly disagree. Yeah, you could totally be naturally homosexual. Sheesh. This last one, the very last question says, these days, openness about sex has gone too far. I strongly disagree. I don't think it's gone too far. You know, society is being ruined by people having relationships with other people. Yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. All right, y'all. So this says, let's see where you stand. So here, this is like a little rundown of how to read my chart. So basically, it's in 4 quadrants. One is red, which is called the authoritarian left. One is blue, which is called the authoritarian right. One is purple, which is the libertarian right. And one is green, which is the libertarian left. So let's see where they put me. They have some examples here. So Hitler, for example, according to their chart, was authoritarian right. Okay, that's great to know. Stalin was authoritarian left. Both Hitler and Stalin are very close to the edge of being as authoritarian as possible. Gandhi was libertarian left, apparently. That's cool. All right, so yeah, let's see where they put me. Ooh, okay. I am apparently libertarian left, according to this. I'm actually pretty far close to libertarian, and I'm somewhat left. For those of you who can't see, the Spotify listeners, I'm basically almost halfway, like halfway in the middle of the left, authoritarian left quadrant, and I'm close to the edge of libertarian. Basically, the numbers they gave me is a minus 4.5 for economic left and a minus 6.82 for social libertarian. So I guess they're calling me a leftist social libertarian. It doesn't matter because I'm still not. I believe what I believe. It doesn't, like, I don't care really what they're calling me. And another reason is it's honestly all subject to change anyway. You know, these opinions I hold are based off of where I am in life and how they affect me and me trying not to negatively affect other people. But as I get older, what if I have different opinions that wind up drastically affecting other people in different ways? You know what I mean? So honestly, that was fun, though. That was fun. That is the political compass test. You guys can go to my Twitter, and I will post this for you guys to see. It should be there right now. You can go and take a look if you want, like, the visual. But yeah, where did you wind up? Did you take the test with me? I hope you did. Let me know which quadrant you wound up in and why. And of course, you can send questions or, information to me at officehusbandpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's going to be a wrap. Let's see. Oh, we have 40 seconds left? Okay. I don't have anything to say for these last 40 seconds. So I guess I will just ask you, how are you doing? How's the weather? That's nice. How's your dog? Do you have a dog? It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to fill up these last 40 seconds. No, for real, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for however you consumed the Office Husband podcast. I've been D'Angelo Wallace, your office husband, and I honestly cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. See you next week.